So one of the things, the first thing we need to be aware of is what the actual employment relationship is. Are they your employee or are you contracting? And I'll talk a little bit about what that is and why it's important. I'm a mum. I am not a lawyer. I am not an industrial relations expert. What I'm sharing with you is what I've learned from talking to experts and going to the Fair Work Australia website, going to the ATO website, going to business.gov.au website and learning and researching. So you will still need to get your own advice for your own individual circumstances. But I'll give you my story and you can have some information that can support you to do that. So contractors have less entitlements than employees. So you don't have to pay their super, you don't have to give them pay leave, all of that sort of stuff. So sometimes some dodgy employers will pretend that their relationship with the person is that they're a contractor, so that they don't have to do those things. So it is really important that you are across this. You can get in trouble, so it's important that you get it right and get some good advice. Here is a table that I've got from the Fair Work Australia website, and there are a number of factors, as you can see, the indicators on the left, that determine if you've got an employee or a contractor working for you. And it's not just one of them, it's a mix of them. And you can go to the business.gov.au website and they actually have a little tool, and I believe Jacquie will show you that later, where you can answer a series of questions and it will tell you if you've got a contracting relationship or an employee relationship. And once you know that, you know that, okay, I have to pay them super, or I have to give them leave and all those sorts of things. So you know what your responsibilities are. Another thing to think about is casual versus permanent, because again, as an employer, you have to, you've got responsibilities that differ for if they're casual or permanent. So a casual employee has no guaranteed hours of work. So they might be Monday at 3 o'clock one week, and they might not be. They might be Friday at 2 o'clock the next week. They can actually work the same hours as well, but usually, on the whole, they don't have guaranteed work hours. They don't get paid sick or annual leave, and you can end their employment. You can say, sorry, today's your last day. So that's a casual. Casual workers are entitled to a higher pay rate because you don't have to give them any sick leave or annual leave. Permanent staff. Permanent staff have an ongoing employment or a fixed term contract. So you might hire someone for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 2 years. They're entitled to paid sick leave and annual leave, and you usually have them working the same hours each week. Casual workers, there's been a recent ruling by the Fair Work Australia folks that casual workers can request to become permanency. So if they have worked regular hours over 12 months, employers can, on reasonable grounds, refuse that, and those reasonable grounds include things like if the position no longer exists. So, for example, your NDIS funding might be really cut hard the following year, and you don't have the funding to pay them, or it might require a significant adjustment to their hours. So it's important to understand if you've got a contractor or an employee, or if you've got them as casual or permanent, because you need to meet your obligations to those people. because there are penalties involved. I don't mean to scare you, and don't be scared because there's lots of help around. I was scared and I just did it anyway, and it's worked out really well, and I've got advice from folks at Fair Work, and also I've also tapped into the local business Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Chamber of Commerce, called Canberra Business Chamber in the ACT, but you'll have an equivalent in New South Wales or wherever state you're from. They've been fantastic, and they have, industrial relations experts that you can go to. So always seek help. And remembering about the casual permanent thing, that casual turnover rates are really high. And you may be more likely to attract the right staff who stay longer if you hire them as a permanent rather than a casual staff member. So there are some laws that you need to be mindful of when you're employing someone. So you can't just decide, I'm going to pay you at $20 an hour and this is the conditions. You have to abide by the standards, and that protects the employees. So there's national employment standards, so they're just the basics that covers everyone, and they're all on the Fair Work website. And there are also specific awards which outline the conditions, the leave, the notification periods, how much they're paid, any reimbursements and allowances, all of that sort of stuff. It's quite comprehensive and very useful to go back to. I refer to it a lot when I need to work out, someone's working on a public holiday, how much will I have to pay them? So you can find these national employment standards and awards all on the web and on the Fair Work Australia website. So I'm not going to go through all of it, but you can see here that these outlines the national employment standards, and they cover things like maximum weekly hours. So there's a maximum a number of hours that people can work. There's a maximum number of hours that you can work if you've done an overnight shift, you need a break, that sort of stuff. All that nitty-gritty is all there spelled out for you, and you need to read through that. How much annual leave they're entitled to, all of that sort of stuff, what to do on public holidays, etc. Awards. So there's a whole lot of awards that cover a whole lot of different types of jobs, and depending on what you want your person to do, you might want someone to just do some bookkeeping or some administrative work. So you might pay them under a different award than you would do with someone that was a support worker, for example. Now, if you don't know what award to use, the Fair Work website has a tool that you can use to find it out, and I will go through that with you in a little while. Employment contracts. So once you've worked out if you're going to use a contractor or an employee, then you've got to have a contract. And what are they for and what's in it? So an employment contract is an agreement between you and your employee, and it sets out what the terms and conditions are for them and refers to the award that they're going to be paid under. It can be in writing or it can be just verbal. I suggest writing. Having it in writing is definitely the way to go, but remember that it can be verbal as well. Now, there's a great template on the ATO website that you can use, and there's lots of other templates there that are fantastic. So you can see there's all sorts of things there. So pay slips, hours of work, employing staff, job advert templates, all sorts of record keeping stuff, all sorts of there. And then the one for the contract is called the Letter of Engagement. That's right. So a bit about the position, the start date, whether or not they're employed full-time or part-time, any probationary period that you want to do with them, The terms and conditions of their employment, which will be basically the award, but you might want to add some additional things there that might be around training or bonuses or whatever that is that you might want to put in there, you can. The ordinary hours of work, so what will be their main hours of working, how much they'll be paid, the amount of leave they get, and what their obligations are to the employer. Termination, what happens with termination, how much notice that you have to give. Confidentiality, so that's all about not sharing information that you've learnt about. I wouldn't want people going out and talking about what Isaac, my son, does, during if they left employment. So some confidentiality stuff in there, and then you sign it. So it's an agreement between you and your employee, and it's a great place to go to is the website. And on the Fair Work Australia website, and you've got that template to use. So as I was mentioning before, some great places to start to get advice are Fair Work Australia, your local workplace relations expert, if you change your Chamber of Commerce. I've just gone to ours to work out getting some in-house supports for Isaac and what I would need to pay them, and all of the modelling around what it would cost over the year and all of that sort of stuff. Wages. How much do I pay? All right, so for support workers, the Modern Award is likely to be the Social Community Home Care and Disability Services Industry Award, or the SHADS Award for short. You've probably heard of that, perhaps. And within that award, there's levels of pay. So from I think it's 1 until 8, something like that. And the more experienced, the more qualified, the more challenging the role, the more the pay. And it gives you all sorts of really useful information about the descriptions of those levels, what if they're entitled to any leave loading, so you need to add that onto their leave. For the SHADS Award, I believe it's 17%. Breaks and overtime, any allowances, and there's a calculator on the Fair Work website which we'll go through to have a look at that and how that works. So here we go. So this is Kelly. She's 23 years old and has a Cert 4 in disability and 3 years of experience. And this is her role that we want to hire her for. So we want her to support Isaac to learn independent living skills, including but not limited to dressing, personal care, etc. Providing personal care included not too limiting, shouting, toileting, shaving. Support Isaac to form and sustain friendships, provide support in personal administration, like updating pod book, creating aid and language boards, completing journals and shift reports, identifying items for his shopping list. Model how to interact with Isaac in a positive, age-appropriate and respectful manner to people in the community. Participate in developing and monitoring Isaac's progress with his goals and take responsibility for ensuring outcomes. Be aware of safe working conditions and implement safe working practices in all areas, and report potential hazards, incidents and concerns in a timely and professional manner. Maintain current knowledge of relevant practices. So if we go to the pay calculator, this will help you figure it out. Okay, so I'm an employer or business looking for pay rates. Show me the rates as of from today. And then click next. Do you know your award? Well, I'm going to say no, I have no idea what that is, and it'll help me find it. Type in the occupation to generate a list of similar job titles. So I might put disability care worker. Is your employee a trainee? No. Is your employee eligible for a supported wage? No. And there's information about what all of those mean here by clicking on the question mark. Is your employee an apprentice? No. Okay, so here's all of the classifications. So you can see, if you have a look on this one, characteristics of the level. So the lower the number, the lower the pay. So the lower the experience, qualifications, all of that sort of stuff. So characteristics of the level. A person employed as a SHADS Award employee level 1 under close direction and undertakes routine activities which require the practical application of basic skills and techniques. So it describes the level of the role and what it involves. It'll help you you plug in your information, and it'll help you figure out, well, what level do I need, how much do I have to pay them, and it'll give you the answer. It'll give you work regular hours, what do I have to pay on Saturdays, what do I have to pay on Sundays, what do I have to pay on public holidays, that kind of stuff. It's really helpful and it's fairly easy to use. So again, you know, why would I bother doing all of this? Because the outcomes have been amazing for the people that we've worked with who are employing their own staff. It is a lot of work, which is why we have microboards, because they help us. We're not doing it alone. Like I said in the video that you might have seen on Facebook, we love to self-manage, but we hate having to do all the work on our own. It's too hard on your own. Get people to help you. And another really important thing is not to let fear get in the way. I didn't have any experience when I started. I'd never self-managed any funding before. I've just learnt along the way. I've got a mentor, and Jacquie has helped me a lot, as well as I've got a cousin who runs a business. She's helped me a lot. So being brave and giving it a go is really something that you need to think about when you're doing this. So in summary, getting specific advice from workplace relations experts at business chamber of commerce, or a local business person, anyone that you know that has expertise. And we also have a mentoring program as well. Know your employment relationship. Is it a contractor or an employee, so that you can meet your relevant legal obligations, and know that if you're a permanent or a casual and what that means. Know which award you need to apply to your staff and the legal obligations you need to meet, and don't let fear stop you. Get help and learn along the way. So they're the key learning points for that part. This is our program that we provide to microboard people who are self-managing and people who have microboards. So, you know, folks are often fed up with poor quality staff that don't stay long, and the goal is great staff who stay longer. And the Archway is the steps of training that we provide, and mentoring and coaching to families to get to that goal of great staff that stay longer. There's no 100% guarantee that that's what will happen, because, you know, we're all human beings and stuff goes wrong. But the program that we've had has worked well in most cases, and so they're the sorts of things that we help you with. We help around planning, as Jacquie's talked about, in terms of the vision and the budget and all of that sort of stuff. The recruitment process, actually hiring people, how to induct people, how to train them, how to manage them to make sure that they're supporting your person really well, and also looking at terminating if you need to, what your obligations are there. Just on this, the be brave, gather your tribe and get a great life. The be brave is what I've been talking about. Don't be scared. You don't need to know everything before you start. Be scared, but do it anyway. Gather your tribe is just getting experts in to help, or your friends, or just gathering people around you so you're not trying to do it alone, and then you get these great outcomes. Okay, thank you.